So, welcome everybody at DrupalCon Szeged 2008. I'm Gabor Hojci, and this is Christoph von Tome.
And we're the two co-leads for DrupalCon. We've spent a lot of time in the last couple of months preparing this for you. And we hope that you're going to love it. We've done our best. We've done everything we could. And yeah, so I think you've been able to see a bit of the city. It's a really beautiful town. I think it's a good venue also, if I can say myself. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Oh, yeah, my battery's not out. So who's here? We've made a few statistics. That's traditional DrupalCons. We've did a country breakdown. And it looks like USA is the biggest population here. Next up is Hungary, then Germany, Great Britain, the Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, Romania, Austria, France, Denmark, Spain. And the last is a third of us, so there's a lot of smaller countries represented.
We had 43 in total. Yeah, we had over 40 countries, over 42 plus countries.
That's quite good. And although we didn't break the record of Boston with the attendee numbers, we did break a very important record, and this is the by gender record. So the first time ever at DrupalCons, this is a genuine paid attendees. 10% is women and 90% is men. This is great for us.
Bye-bye 7% rule.
So we have a lot of people to thank to.
First of all, we've got a lot of volunteers that were helping out with this con. First, of course, Gabor Hojci, my co-lead.
And of course, Christoph von Tome, my co-lead. So our rule was that there was no single point of contact. We divided the work and we tried to do our best.
We got a lot of emails. I would like to start also out with a special thank you for the people that were helping with the pre-con events, because I don't know if everybody is aware, but we had like pre-conference workshops and meetings in a couple of cities around in the region to kind of drum up support and to make people more aware of Drupal and DrupalCon. And Jakob Succi, forgive me if I say it wrong, Christian Ziegler, Akos Kish, and Radu Ticeu, they all were organizing one of those meetings. One in Prague, one in Vienna, one in Szeged here, and one in Timișoara, or Timișoara in Romanian. So thank you to them. Also, thank you to all my colleagues from Pronovix. Like the last couple of months, I said like, okay, we need some more volunteers. It's a lot easier if you're in the same office. So I asked my colleagues, I told them like, look, you can have a half an hour of company time. Can you chip in some of your own time and like stay in the office and help out with the conference? And all of them did that, and they stayed a lot longer than that 1 hour that we were planning. Like there were evenings that people were like till 7, 8:30 in the office just to help out with conference. And a really, really big thank you for that.
And you've probably seen that drumming up sponsors for DrupalCon is not as easy as you would think. So Kieran Lau was very instrumental in helping us drumming up more sponsors for this DrupalCon, weighing in with his connections. So that was a great help for us.
Thank you.
Wherever he is. There was also a lot of track chairs who helped us ensure a kick-ass conference program so that you would have a very hard time choosing sessions this DrupalCon, we hope so. And we worked with a lot of great companies and groups who were also very helpful in doing our work. And two who we worked a lot with, the first is C&D Hungary, who had people at the airport to help you, who had people yesterday at Novotel to have you pre-register so that you don't need to queue. This morning, who organized the hotel bookings for you, who organized the shuttle buses for you, who negotiated with the catering, negotiated with the wine tasting. So like they get a lot of stuff from our shoulders. And the other one is Factory Creative Studio, who designed your badges, your conference booklets, the T-shirts, the signage, all for free.
Yeah.
So we could suggest Factory's work to anyone if you are looking for a partner. They are very high quality, and they put in a lot of extra hours to help us out.
Yeah, they're actually now starting to use Drupal. Like they are so far, like they've been doing quite some interesting media sites in Hungary. But now they started like looking for Drupal people. So, but you'll find them on the exhibition. Then also the software engineering department from the University of Szeged. So they were helping us with making this possible. I've been working together with them for some time now, and they helped us write a grant for this conference. We don't know yet what the result is, but hopefully that will bring in some extra money still. Of course, the Drupal Association, they were the ones doling out the right to do this con, and they chose us. They also helped us a lot. I really liked the last-minute call for sponsors still. That was a great job. And yeah, from Nejo. So thank you to them also. And then there's, of course, I would like to thank everybody from the Hungarian community, from the Hungarian Drupal community, because we had a lot of volunteers, and a lot of them were from here, from Budapest, or from the Budapest user group, some people from Szeged, and yeah, it's just too much names to go name them all now, but we had a lot of hands and a lot of help, and thank you to all of them. And of course, the Drupal community, you, for coming here today, for coming all the way down to Szeged and being present, taking the jump and come to this smaller town, maybe not all that much known, but very beautiful, and for supporting us by your presence and your blogging and your banners and whatever. Thank you very much.
And of course, this wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. And we had Acquia signing up very soon for a sponsorship, and they were they thought it would be very important to support this event, so we are very grateful for them. They will have a lot to do here, so you'll find them around. And we also have Sun as a gold sponsor. And they were also very great in our relationship, so big applause for them as well. And not to say we have a lot of silver sponsors here, also including the city of Szeged, so that was very good for us. We have a set of bronze sponsors, and we even have some of them signing up the last minute to help us out. So thanks for them.
Thank you very much.
We have some marketing sponsors who were helping us organize the different pre-conference events and getting the word out about DrupalCon. And we, of course, have individual sponsors who should especially be named. Christmas, Eric Stilstra, Hans Russell, Jeff Tomlinson, Jürgen Brocke, Kari Najashi, Mohamed Nanapai, Nicholas Thompson, Roel de Meester, Simon Hobbs, and Reza Palmu. Sorry if the pronunciation was not right.
And I think Thomas Nares, if I pronounce it right, he just came up just a minute ago to say that he also wants to be a sponsor. So
And you can still do that too. We have sponsor shirts, which we are still selling for 200 euros. And we have more attendee shirts, which start at 10 euros, and then whatever amount you would like to give, you can.
wait a little bit until this afternoon, like after the registration crash, when the people from CNT will have time to actually process this. But you're very, very welcome, and we would love to have you as a sponsor also.
We also have CodeSprint sponsors this time, so we are handing out ActiveSite Komodo licenses and the latest version, the electronic book version of the latest Pro Drupal development book on the CodeSprint. So if you are there, you have a chance. And we would like to highlight especially one very bright person from CNT. We're not sure whether she's actually here or not.
She's very busy, I'm sure.
She's very busy. She's Katalin Fogas, and she was like she was working weekends, she was working late hours, she was phoning up everybody, so she was very important for us to help to put this together.
And I think this is the right moment to say sorry, because in the booklet, somehow, I don't know, but somehow we got the first draft in there for the welcome text, and there's some mistakes in it. Sorry for that. But yeah, now everybody will definitely read it.
Let's move on to more information. So we have maps in the booklet, but we try to highlight the areas we are talking about so that it would be easier for you. We have an information desk on the ground floor, which is at the stairs. You can ask questions there, buy wine tasting tickets. We'll talk about wine tasting a little bit. Ask about like night programs, etc. So whenever you have some problems, go there. Yeah. We have a DrupalCon Wi-Fi.
Just a second. So the wine tasting, don't worry. There's plenty of tickets, so you don't have to go rush in. Okay? Yeah.
We have a DrupalCon Wi-Fi network, especially designed and built and sponsored by Cisco Systems for DrupalCon. So we were testing signal quality late yesterday, everywhere in the building, every possible place where you might show up, and it was good. We hope it's good. The open laptops show that it should be good now.
Who is online here right now? Okay.
That's good. Good.
Yeah.
So here it works. The DrupalCon SSID, it should be an open network, no password, so that's the best. Let's hope is the best speed. If you need secrecy, just tunnel through SSH. We would kindly ask you not to download DVD rips. That would hurt. And if something is blocked, you would like to use some tool which is blocked, the ports are blocked, then just tell the information desk and we'll make sure that it's unblocked if it's a if it's a reasonable
yeah, no spamming, please.
Yeah. We have food and drinks. So we have 6 free coffee and water machines in the venue. They are marked with the DrupalCon logo, and they have a Hungarian menu. But they have an English menu, not right at the Hungarian, but somewhere near more at the bottom. So just look for the English list and pick the drink you would like to have. That should be free coffee and water. We have a free sandwich and salad lunch on the ground floor. It's every day from noon to 1:30. Lunch will not be available before or after this time, so take the lunch at that time. You have 4 blue lunch tickets in your badge holder, so if you look there, there's 4 blue tickets in there, and those are for the 4 lunches, and that will be on the ground floor right there. And there's also a buffet. That's quite a small buffet for 500 people, but try it if there's space at around the square entrance.
Yeah. That's also, well, we'll come to that, but that's also where the exhibition is. So
We thought about some Chillout for you. We've especially ordered beanbags. So that should be around the venue to sit down and have some fun. We ordered tables and seatings all around the different floors to sit down and talk. We have an open buff area on the 3rd floor. I will show you a little bit later on the map, which also has computer cabinets, like desktop computers, which we didn't check today, but they should have an English operating system.
They have Ubuntu.
They have Ubuntu, and they are free to use. If you don't have a laptop and you need internet or whatever, 3rd floor computer cabinets. And there's also LAN plugs, so if you need wired network, you can use it there.
If you get confused, there's no 2nd floor in the maps. So there is a 2nd floor, but it's not on this side. It's a very cool building, and like all cool buildings, it's a bit kind of confusing. So you'll only see the 3rd floor, and it's there. Don't worry.
We have a lot for you to do. We have, in total, 4 keynotes. Today we have Dries Buttert with State of Drupal, which is everyone's waiting for, I guess. But we are just
stealing time.
We're just stealing the time. Also today, Rasmus Lerf is here with Simplest Heart. We have Mark Bolton here for tomorrow, who will talk about the redesign of Drupal.org, which will affect all of us. So.
And you'll have more of us on the 4th day.
Good to know, and you have more of us on the 4th day. Check out your personal schedule on the website if it works. If it says it doesn't, no, sorry. If it says it doesn't, then it's because we didn't have time at 2 a.m. Today to debug it further. We'll try. Oh, OK. We'll fix that. You certainly have a printed schedule in your booklet, so that's a backup. And we'll have a PDF schedule on the site soon after the keynote. This is where the rooms are. So there's a, what's that called, a basement?
Yeah.
There's a basement where the 2 smaller rooms are. And the 1st floor is this biggest room is called Acquia. And the other room is called the Life Room, which is if you go out down here and then turn left, that's the Life Room.
So some people here already found the other floor. There's 2 actually, I see. So there's another entrance, one floor up, I think, so that you can also be in this room if you want a bit more privacy. Yeah. Next slide.
So we have the Life Room right here on this floor, and under the ground floor there is the everything and the
life, the universe, and everything.
The universe, or that's the universe and everything rooms are down. We have buffs. We have 3 rooms on the ground floor, and we have an open buff area on the 3rd floor, which you won't be able to go up from here. You need to go to the other stairs.
Yeah. So just that's on the exhibition area. So you have to go through the the security thing, and there's another stairs going up to the 3rd floor.
Yep. You will only be able to go through the security gates if you have your badge. So make sure you always have your badges on, and then you will be allowed to go through. If you have a laptop bag, or anyway, if you are going out, just go. There's magnetic checks? Or
yeah, there's magnetic checks.
There's magnetic checks, so go through the magnetic checks just so that they know that you are not stealing the library books. Yeah. Because these laptop bags can fit in quite a few books. So they asked us so that you go through the magnetic checks when you go out. We have scheduling, if the schedule works, we have scheduling with drag and drop for buffs. So you just go in your buff, there's a schedule tab, and you can drag and drop your schedule to the right place where you want it to be. Just schedule as soon as possible as the schedule works, so you can still catch a room for your.
Yeah. So one thing that's important here to mention is that so we're going to try to cover the bigger rooms, like the session rooms. We're going to try to cover with video coverage, but we can't possibly do that for the buff areas. So we're counting on you to help us with this, to record as much as you can. If you have a laptop with a microphone, go ahead. Make it work. And then there's going to be a pen drive at the information desk where you can hand over your session materials. So anything from mind maps, from buff sessions, presentations, PowerPoints, whatever. Recordings, if you can do a voice recording, that would be cool. Just gather as much as you can and help us spread the reach of this conference beyond these walls. Okay. So for the presenters in the big rooms, there's going to be pen drives with the camera people. Okay. So make sure that your materials gets to us. Get them on a pen drive from the conference. Thank you.
We should really speed up because we are stealing a lot of time. So there's the bathrooms, the ground floor. There are 3 bathrooms. The 4th one is the sponsor lounge. That's an arrow on the map. So there's 3 bathrooms, Sun, Cisco, and Sharon and Joy. And on the 3rd floor, there's a much bigger buff area than shown on the map. So that's another arrow. So the whole floor there is a buff area, and the computer cabinet is for us to use. So that's about buffs. We have exhibitions. We have 4 days, different topics. Today we have a job fair. Tomorrow we have service providers exhibition. 3rd day we have regional companies, and 4th day we have a designer exhibition, and it's going to be on the ground floor.
Important here to mention is that the exhibitions are all day long, so the booths are there all day long. There is a preferred visiting time in your schedule. That's just so that presenters, the people at the booths can also go to the conference, right? The bigger booths like Acquia, I'm sure will be, I think, will be manned all day long. But all the others, I think several of them will only be there during the breaks.
We also have a ACS Cert certification, which Earthfish is doing. They are doing it every day from 12:45 or 1:45 to 1:15 at the ground floor sitting area around the registration desk. So if you need assurance or certification, just go down and you can make that work. We are also going to have a group picture. That's going to be tomorrow, right after the Drupal.org redesign keynote, where we will go out to the ground floor and will be photographed from upstairs. Today, we have a welcome party at Port Royal. A map is in your booklet. It's very small, but it's in. So we are at the A point, and Port Royal is out there near the river at point B.
But just check it in your booklet. You'll find it there.
Just check it in your booklet.
And if you don't know, ask the help desk.
Yeah, so the help desk can help you even. We'll have one free drink we've chosen for you, and we'll have a DJ with great music and some free snacks. So come by. It should be fun. Tomorrow, there's a wine tasting event right here at the venue. That's not for free. You buy tickets for the wine tasting event at the information desk later, right when the initial rush is over and everyone found their hotels and their whatever is lost. So that starts tomorrow at 5. One ticket costs 2,000 euros. 2,000 forints.
So €8.
And you can buy it at the information desk, and you will get a receipt. So, like taxation, invoicing, you might have read already. That's 3 types of wine from one of the best wineries in Hungary.
But, yeah.
You can choose from. And that's also an exhibition time, so you can walk around, talk with the exhibitors, and drink fine Hungarian wine. Third day we have a both type of meetup thingy, which we call unnetworking. So choose places without Wi-Fi, so that you can actually talk to people. So we will propose great locations we think are good for these meetups. And we expect you to propose great topics, and we'll match those up. And we have a whiteboard, in case you didn't notice, where you'll be able to do these kinds of things.
Don't be shy. Go propose.
So we tried to make the homepage a bit more location-friendly. So we dimmed most of, hey, that already went over. So we dimmed most of the menu, and we highlighted the schedule on the whiteboard. It's good when it works. It's bad when it doesn't, and that's the only one highlighted. So the whiteboard is where that's a wiki whiteboard. So you can post new notes. You can edit existing notes. The schedule is something which will soon work fine. And we're also using Twitter for announcing important stuff. That's the DrupalCon Twitter user we use. If you are on Twitter, use the hash DrupalCon back channel. So that's aggregated on multiple services, and we can see what the others are saying about DrupalCon.
Then now it's time to introduce.
That's also
almost.
It's important. It's important to socialize for geeks. That I tell that we have the DrupalCon IRC channel open, which is picking up. And if you have your blog posts or photos or whatever, use the DrupalCon Szeged 2008 tag. And if you think you'll make a typo in that, or if you don't, then also use DrupalTown, which is harder to make a typo in, we hope. So that these might make it easy to find photos, blog posts, and anything else. And
now it's time to introduce Mr. Nagy Sándor, or Sándor Nagy, if you say it in English, who is the vice mayor of Szeged. And he's, which was quite surprising to me, was that Szeged is actually quite a fan of open source. So he's going to give us a couple of words. It was great that they're sponsoring us here today. And word to you.
Thank you. First of all, welcome to Szeged on behalf of the city, and thank you for coming to Szeged. I think, in a way, it's an honor for the city that a conference like this comes to Szeged. Let me start with a personal note that before I became vice mayor, I was a software engineer, and I attended conferences like this, and I already like the atmosphere. So in this way, thank you for this feeling for me. And the second note is that as you leave your profession for something else, you forget or you don't learn the new expressions, and I'm very curious what both means. I have no idea. 6 years ago, it wasn't there. I already know a lot about building trams, but I begin to lose these expressions. So, I think Szeged has a history that you may learn on our web pages, and you may check the city itself by walking around. It is a very friendly city in this sense, but I have to say a few words about the city. It is a regional center in financial, healthcare, judicial system, and so on. And it is also the host of a major university in Hungary, which is, I believe, one of the 200 or 500 best universities in the world. So on the Shanghai list, they are very much appreciated. And Szeged was, the University of Szeged was 50 years ago one of the first universities to teach computer science or IT or cybernetics or whatever it was called at that time. And therefore there is a tradition and atmosphere of computer science or software engineering here in this town. And Szeged is also an open source city, not just at the university, but also the city hall uses a lot of open source software. We have our integrated system based on open source solutions, and we also use openoffice.org as the standard office package in the city hall. And we also use an open source content management system for our website, which is Joomla. Sorry to say that. But anyway, the city has this tradition, and the university provides a lot of young professionals who like the city. And I believe it is not an accident that 2/3 of the students who graduate from the University of Szeged would like to stay at Szeged after their graduation. Most of them were not born at Szeged. And this gives us an opportunity as the city to try to develop the software business here at Szeged, and we experienced growth in this sector in the past few years. Just this year, 3 big companies decided to come to Szeged, not all in the open source community, obviously, but still it is an important sector of the local economy, and we expect it to grow in the future. So we have the traditions and the brains to attract more businesses in the software industry. And if you walk around, you will see that Szeged is a developing city. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we have a big development in the public transportation, and we will renew most of the electric transport system, and we will extend it, in fact, in the coming 2-3 years. And this is done usually during the summer because there are less students and most of the people are on holiday. And unfortunately, it may cause you troubles, but you will see that we do our best to keep the city clean and limit the problems that the car usage brings to our town as well. So, if you walk around, you will see that there is also a parallel event, and for those who can cope with sleep deprivation, they can attend another event on the other bank of the river Tisza, which is a big rock, pop, whatever festival. Most of the best Hungarian bands are here at Szeged in the coming 4 days. And if you want to just get some insight into the Hungarian music scene, there is an opportunity for you in this. And I think this is one of the reasons why people, I mean the graduates, would like to stay here. So I think the city, interestingly, can be a good host for this event, and I hope you will enjoy your stay in the city, and you will see much more than this lecture room. So please walk around and tell your friends it is worth coming to Szeged. Enjoy your time here at the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Knight, for the inspirational speech. Now, it's time for Dries.
Alrighty. Let's see. Does this work? Can you hear me? Or, all right. Let's see if my computer works. All right, so thanks for the introduction and for all the hard work organizing DrupalCon Szeged. I think this is the first time ever we do a Drupal conference in Eastern Europe. And I actually think that's a great thing because it allows us to reach out to more and different people. So just to get started, let's try to get an idea here of how many of you have been to DrupalCon Boston? All right, so I guess slightly less than half, or 1/3 maybe. And how many have been to Barcelona a year ago? Okay, I think roughly half, or maybe a little bit more. And for how many, this is their very first Drupal conference? Wow. So. Yeah, that's great. So at least the reaching out to more people part is working. And so I think it's great to be able to spend a week together here in Szeged and to talk and brainstorm about the future of Drupal, and to talk about and to brainstorm about their own future as well, and for many people probably also their individual future, because oftentimes you know, a lot of people decide to start working full-time on Drupal after Drupal conference and all of these things. So I hope that for some of you, you know, this might be a fruitful event. Last year, almost exactly 1 year ago in Barcelona, I presented these statistics, and I basically said that during the course of my presentation last year, let's see, I said that, you know, Diderot, our website, served about 20,000 pages, you know, during my 1-hour presentation a year ago. And also that Drupal was downloaded 100 times during that presentation. And that 4 new sites were launched, you know, during that 1 hour. And also that 3 of them would be ugly. So let us look at, you know, this time, and I don't know how much time I have left, but, you know, I'm assuming I have about an hour to talk here. So during this presentation, Diderot will serve 28,000 pages instead of 20,000. So I think that's still strong growth, but it may be less than expected. Despite the fact that fewer people, or I mean that there's not the super growth we saw on the website, the number of downloads still doubled. So for some reason, people are, you know, are using Diderot less as a resource, but they're still going there to download Drupal a lot. And so we doubled the download rate in 1 year, which I think is a, you know, is a great accomplishment. Instead of 4 sites, 7 sites will launch during this presentation. And I don't know how many of them will be ugly. We made some extensive theme system improvements in Drupal 6, so, you know, hopefully a lot less of these sites will be ugly and will be properly themed. And so the goal of this presentation is to give you some insight and some data about how we're doing. And I'll explain you in this presentation how I get to these numbers and what I think these numbers mean for us as a community. And for the sake of this presentation, I used 3 different data sources. One, I launched a survey about 30 days ago where I asked 20 questions. And I posted that survey on Diderot on our front page. And it scrolled up the main page pretty quickly. But nonetheless, about 1,400 people, you know, a little bit less, participated in the survey. So I think that's, you know, a reasonable big sample to pull from. Also looked at the Diderot traffic statistics. And lastly, I looked at the Diderot ping home data, which is, and as you know, Drupal 6 comes with the update module, and what the update module does, it basically tells you which modules are up to date. And to do so, it has to send a list of all the modules and their versions to Diderot, and we use that information to see or to tell you which modules are up, you know, no longer up to date, which modules might be insecure, or which modules might have important bug fixes. And so, you know, we can capture that data and you know, in an anonymous way and look at it to see or spot certain trends. Alrighty. So one of the questions I asked in the survey is, what do you think is holding Drupal back as a whole? You know, what is it? Were a number of answers, and I decided to focus here on the top 5 most answers. So the number 1 thing people thought was holding us back right now was the slow porting of contributed modules. You know, obviously it's a big problem. A lot of people are frustrated with it, but fortunately, I think it's a you know, it's a timely issue. You know, it will pass. We'll get over that, you know, guaranteed. And I really like to think of Drupal and all the modules as like a big cluster of objects, and all of these little objects have to start moving forward, and you know, enough of them have to start moving forward to create enough gravity to pull the other modules with it. So you know, it's very much, say, like a steam train, you know, where it takes a while to get up to speed, but once we're up to speed, we'll go at full force. And I totally expect that to happen relatively soon now. But still, you know, it's a challenging issue, and it's difficult, right? It's a two-sided thing. On the one hand, we have to make sweeping changes to advance our technology and to make it better. And on the other hand, there's end users. There's people that want to migrate or upgrade their sites. And so, it's hard to say what is wrong or what is right. And so I think it's actually our shared responsibility, sort of a community responsibility, to make sure that we balance this properly. And especially right now, I think it's our shared responsibility to upgrade important modules or to help upgrade these modules. All right. The second biggest thing holding us back as a community is apparently the Drupal learning curve, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. I have a special section on this a little bit down in the presentation. The third thing is restricted access to Drupal talent. And so one of the things I also asked, which is related to this, is whether you make money with Drupal, yes or no. And it turns out about 29% of the people, they are involved in the Drupal project as a hobby because it's something fun to do. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. Drupal has been a hobby for me as well for the last 7 years. And until recently, only until recently that changed. 28% of the people said that Drupal was their main source of income, and more than 40% of the people said that Drupal, they made money with Drupal, but only part of their income. And actually I was quite surprised by these numbers. I'm not sure if you are, but I was expecting to see more people doing Drupal full-time. So I wonder what the reason is. Are maybe these people are using multiple platforms and they're only using Drupal for some of their projects. Maybe they want to be full-time developers or doing full-time work with Drupal, but they feel insecure, or maybe they don't think they have the skills they need to have. I wonder why it is. And it's one of the things I would like to understand a little bit better. I don't have the answers today, but I do think it's pretty important. So related to that, I also asked a question: what do you think as a person is difficult? So not what is holding Drupal back as a whole, but what is difficult for you. And surprisingly, for novice users, finding skilled Drupal designers and developers is the most difficult thing they have. And the numbers on the right are scores. So the higher the score, the more difficult it is. Even more surprisingly, apparently Drupal experts are also looking for other experts somehow. And if you look at the scores, you even see that the expert users, they think it's an even bigger problem that they can't get access to other experts. So not sure exactly what's going on here, but definitely I guess we can safely say that the demand for Drupal talent exceeds the supply, and it's actually one of the things I want to work on in the next 12 months as a pet project. Just like last year, one of my pet projects was to help and get more books published about Drupal, and so I spent a lot of time connecting authors with publishers, and hopefully that will lead to at least 10 Drupal books this year. And so one of the things I would like to get better at this year is to try and figure out how we can, so there is a book in the air, how we can basically create an army of 100,000 Drupal developers, and how we can get more shops to embrace Drupal, and maybe how we can get schools and universities to teach Drupal, which I think would be really great. And even how we get more books written, and how we can help people make money with Drupal. So I think it's going to be important to listen to these people and to basically figure out ways to get more people on board full time. It's a little bit of an open-ended question, but let's see how things evolve over the next year. So far, the restricted access to Drupal talent. The fourth biggest hurdle is the Diderot experience. And I think that's an interesting one, especially in light of the statistics I showed early on, where we see that people are using Diderot less and less as a resource, but there's still healthy growth in downloads and installations. Let's zoom in into this issue a little bit more and see. First of all, let's see who's using Drupal or Diderot. And I think that's actually a representation of, who are we as a community, because I expect most of us, to spend quite a bit of time on Diderot. And I don't know, shockingly, to me at least, 20% of the participants considered themselves to be end users, and almost 80% considered themselves to be Drupal developers. I was expecting a lot more end users and fewer developers. So I don't know about you, but where are the end users hanging out? Are they hiding somewhere? Don't we have any end users? Who knows? But I do think there's a unique opportunity for us going forward to create a better place for these people, and so they have a place to hang out, and hopefully we can get them on the site as well. It's especially important for me on a personal level, because my personal goal with Drupal is to empower people and individuals and companies, everyone, to quickly and easily assemble powerful, rich, and interactive websites, and basically to enable people to interact with one another and to express themselves online, and to help democratize online publishing, and to try and make a change by doing social good. And to do so, you need to have end users, right? So that's why I think we have to look into this and see how we can change things and create more end users. Specifically, also one of the goals which is related to this is that I would love to see us eliminate the traditional web developer role. And I talked about this a while ago, I think 2 or 3 Drupal conferences ago. Just like content management systems in general, they helped eliminate the traditional webmaster role, handcrafting HTML and uploading the HTML to your website using FTP. I mean, content managements have replaced that. We have replaced them with a script, essentially. And similarly, I think Drupal is in a unique position to help eliminate the traditional web developer role. And so we can actually, with all these modules, we have almost 2,000 modules, we can really make it easy for non-developers to quickly assemble a website without too much effort. And, seeing that we only have 20% end users, something has gone wrong somewhere. But I'm not giving up, and we'll have to work on that in order to fix that. So related to that, so a little bit more about who we are on Diderot, and so one of the questions I asked is essentially ask people to rank what they think they're good at and to give scores to that. And apparently we're really, really good at HTML and CSS and hosting and CCK and views, and you can read the list of things there. The good news, though, is that CCK as of this year is above PHP development. CCK and views is above PHP development, SQL and module development, which means people are definitely getting into the assembling websites part rather than writing things from scratch. A little disappointing, at least to me, was that security, scalability, and test-driven development rank relatively low on the list. So I mean, I would think if we're 80% developers and we are sort of self-respecting engineers, right? that security, scalability, and test-driven development would be high on our list of things we want to be really good at. Rather than hosting, say, which who cares about hosting? I mean, you can host your site at some place. You don't have to worry about it. I mean, if there's one thing we have to worry about as a community of developers, it's not about hosting. It's about making sure our software is rock solid. So a related question to that is, so this is what we are good at. What is it that we want to invest time in to get better at and to learn more about the coming year, for example? Good news is people want to learn more about CCK and views. The other good news is security, scalability, and test-driven development are pretty high on the list. And also hosting an HTML is very low on the list. So we're so good at HTML that we don't want to learn any HTML anymore, which I think is great and which is the purpose of CMS. So we're slowly getting there, and hopefully will be interesting to see how these things change over time. But I'm happy to see CCKM views up on the list and HTML way down on the list. So I think that's useful information for a lot of people if you're writing books or articles, or if you want to drive some traffic to your site. These are the things you might want to write about. Right, so we talked a little bit about who we are. So we're 80% developers. We're really good at HTML and CSS, and we're eager to learn more about CCKM views. And also, I want there to be more end users. So with that in mind, let's have a look at some of the Diderot statistics of our website. And I just picked some data from July 2008, which is last month. We served 21 million pages to 1.1 unique visitors, and that's almost 1,700 gigabytes. So we're approaching the 2 terabyte, bandwidth or traffic, and that's only for the main page. It doesn't count some of the subdomains we have, such as groups.diderot and some other properties we have, which I think is it's a pretty healthy number. It means we're in the top 1,000 websites in Alexa, which means we're in the top 1,000 websites on the planet, essentially, which I think is good. If we look at traffic, it actually looks very similar to the picture Gabor showed us, I think. So, 33% of the visitors are from the United States, and then next up are 2 European countries, Germany with 6% and Great Britain with 6%, and then a number of other companies, as you can see on the graph. There's also 40% other, which means we're a pretty international community. There's a lot of people from a lot of different places. Now it's interesting if you compare this graph with the graph of last year, a year before, July 2007. You see some changes. First of all, let's say average traffic growth was 40%, and you can't see that in the graph. You can only see the relative changes. And so what we see here is that, for example, the United States, it was still growing, I think, by 25 to 30% last year, but the growth in the US was less than the average growth. As such, the share of the US in the graph becomes smaller. The same is true for Europe, except for Germany and Great Britain, which remains steady. And what we really see, and I guess that's the interesting part, is that the strong growth countries are, the Slovak Republic, the Russian Federation, Turkey, China, Mexico, Bulgaria. A lot of these countries are really coming up very fast, and some of them have been doubling, in terms of traffic numbers over the past year. So definitely we're spreading to reach more people internationally, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's also a great thing that Drupal 6 has many internationalization improvements, which will only help that. It's interesting, I think, because it makes you wonder if we need to make any changes, or are there things we can do to help encourage growth in these countries? Like, for example, should we enable people to translate some pages on Diderot into multiple languages, just like you can on Wikipedia? Are there simple things we can do to offer? For example, I don't know if the Slovak Republic has a good Drupal home, so to speak. Are they coming to Diderot because they don't have their own site? Not sure there, but anything we can do, I think, to help these people grow and help them organize, just like we have been doing as an English-speaking community, I think would be really good. 2 other quick questions I asked, and I'm just giving them here, so we all know about them. Is where do you spend most of your time on Diderot? Novice users, seem to spend most of their time in the handbooks, and secondly in the forums, whereas expert users, they're all over the issue queue. And the handbooks and also groups is more accessible for expert users, so it seems can be useful to know. Another quick question was, what do you think is most important for Diderot going forward? Both novice and expert users think module reviews and module ratings are really important. Better search is also on both lists. Interestingly, people want to see test results of modules, so it looks like they're a little frustrated with the quality of some modules, and what they want to see is that we integrate the results of the code coverage results, or how many tests are failing, and these kind of things on the, I guess, on the project pages somehow, so they can easily see or identify the quality of a module. So that's interesting, and I'm all for that, because I think it, ideally I wouldn't have to give this presentation and all of the information would be available real time to all of the maintainers of projects. So I think one of the things we should try and work on is have all these metrics which I talked about and which I'll be talking about, have them be available all the time to everybody in the community, so people can act upon these and make decisions based on these. But all in all, Diderot is going to be a big project for us. It has been already, and it will continue to be a big project this year and next year. And as you might have read, we're all very excited that the Drupal Association has elected Mark Bolton Design to help with the Diderot redesign. So they'll be, doing some research, additional research around how people are using Diderot and what they want to see happen with Diderot. They'll help with information architecture, navigation. They'll provide mock-ups and all of these things, and then we'll have to convert these mock-ups in an actual working team. So a lot of the work will be done by them, but there's still a lot of work left to be done by us, and we're definitely looking for more people to help there, and we're organizing ourselves in the groups which you see on the screen, which is a Drupal.org redesign analysis group. So if you want to help, that's a place to go. Also, Mark should be here, and we'll be giving a presentation. There he is. We'll be giving a presentation tomorrow, if I remembered correctly, so let's make sure to go there. They're absolute rock star firm, so make sure to go there. Drupal Association is also considering to help with the upgrade of Diderot to Drupal 6, which hasn't happened yet. So all in all, very excited with these things, and thanks for all of the people who helped us get this far. A lot of work went into preparing for all of this redesign work, so give it up to the people who helped with that. So. Let's see. And so the fifth biggest hurdle apparently is the lack of features, interestingly. And which leads me to the more technical part of my presentation, and I would like to have a look at Drupal 6 and Drupal 7 and talk a little bit more about what we're doing, whether we are on track, and whether we're building what people are asking for. So first of all, I think Drupal 6 has many new features. It's easier to administer, it's easier to scale, it's easier to team, it's easier to develop for, and it's for more people, because we added a lot of internationalization features. So I think Drupal 6 was a great accomplishment. So, and actually here is a list of all the features, or all the high-level features. There's many, many more, which we added to Drupal 6. As you can read, there's quite a few of them. So if people are complaining about the lack of features, what are they complaining about? Do they want to see more features in core? Based on the survey results, I think the answer is yes. I think people want us to move important modules to Drupal core. Or are they complaining because Drupal 6 isn't as widely adopted yet as it could be? Maybe they can't migrate to Drupal 6, and as such, they don't have access to these features. based on the survey results, but the answer could also be yes. So it's probably a combination of things. But let's talk a little bit more about the adoption issue. And to start it off, let's look at the download statistics for Drupal core. As you can see, so the blue is Drupal 4.7, the red is Drupal 5, and yellow is Drupal 6. As you can see, Drupal 6 has been downloaded more than Drupal 5 has, and the monthly downloads, actually Drupal 6 has been downloaded more than Drupal 5 ever has, if you look at individual months. So it's, definitely a lot of people are using or downloading Drupal 6. If you look at it in relative numbers, it's even more clear, I guess. Like 70% of all the downloads are Drupal 6 downloads. So, what's going on here, right? So, one way to help answer that question is to look at the ping home data. And I looked at the ping home data of the last 7 days. So all of the sites which pinged home in the last 7 days are included here. So first of all, if you look at Drupal 5, we see that there's 12,000, 200 Drupal 5 sites. Now, what's important here is that the update module is not part of Drupal 5 core. So it's an additional module which people have to go and download, install, and all of that. So probably explains the low number. However, in Drupal 6, we added the module to Drupal core, and we highly recommend people to activate it. If you don't activate it, there will be a message all over your face all the time. So I would expect most people to enable that module. So if you look at the number of Drupal 6 websites, and Drupal 6 has been released for six months, so based on that data, there's currently 22,632 Drupal sites, which isn't all that much, I think, but at the same time, it's quite a few sites. Remains the question, though, how many people actually enable the update notifications? I don't know for sure, but I would think quite a few people do. You can always disable the module, of course. But also, how many people actually enable cron? Because if you don't enable cron, your site will not be pinging home, or it will not have pinged home the last 7 days. So that's definitely an important thing to consider in this number. So it's, it's very likely that the number of actual Drupal 6 sites is much higher. So if you combine all of this data, you look at it in sort of a tunnel, you see there's all the website developers in the world. Over the past 6 months, let's estimate that 5 million of these went to our website. Like in July, we had 1.1 unique million visitors. Let's say some of these come back month over month, and let's also assume that a lot of these people will be new again. So these are all people coming to Diderot, trying to figure out what Drupal is and exploring the platform. Of these 5 billion unique visitors, 750,000 downloaded Drupal 6, specifically Drupal 6, and apparently, let's say 23,000, possibly more, actually deployed a Drupal 6 site, which is pinging home, keeps pinging home. So if you look at the sort of conversion rate numbers, you see that out of the 7 people that come to the website, one actually downloads Drupal 6, and of 1 out of 33 people actually succeed in deploying a Drupal 6 website, it seems. So the overall conversion rate, if you do the math, is roughly speaking 0.5%. So 0.5% of all the people going to Diderot actually end up with a site. So that's, I think, useful data, and it's something we can really work on the coming year. We can attack this problem from different levels, like we can improve Diderot, so the conversion rate from visitors to exploring what Drupal is and what Drupal is about to downloading Drupal increases, and we can also work on Drupal usability to make sure that of all the people downloading Drupal, more people actually end up with a working Drupal site. Some other data from the ping home feature. What versions are people on? If you look at Drupal 5, this is a graph just with Drupal 5 installations. You see that only 35% is running the most secure version of Drupal 5. That's not to say that all of these other sites are vulnerable. I mean, there is security advisories which might not affect your sites. If we discover a bug in the forum system, you're not using the forums, you might not care to upgrade. But nonetheless, I think, it's, I would have hoped that more people would actually upgrade. And if you look at Drupal 6, it actually gives a very similar picture. So only 37% of all the people are on Drupal 6.4, which is the latest version. So I think something which we want to think carefully about, and we have to figure out, I think, how we can improve that, because the fact that people are not upgrading based on update notifications really increases the support burden. It makes it difficult to repeat bugs and all of these things. So, for me, it sort of means, I don't know, update notifications seems to be failing for me. And I wonder if, actual upgrades of modules, of codes, has to become a bigger deal this year or next year to help solve this problem. Something which we need to follow up on and discuss more about. Hopefully we can start doing so this week. Of course, another interesting feature of the ping home data is to actually look, I mean, it's okay to look at the download statistics of modules, but it's even more interesting to look at the actual usage of modules, because like people might download all sorts of image handling modules, but they only settle on one after they compared all of them. So looking at these numbers, so what this means is 29% of all the people using Drupal 6 have views installed, even though views is not officially released. Like 23% of the people have CCK installed, and so forth. You can read, and essentially CCK and views seem to be dominating the chart. All of these modules are somehow related to views and CCK. So definitely very popular modules. Also, Path Auto module has been, popular for like forever, right? People have been using this for many, many years, and I wonder if we should, put some of this stuff in core. Probably not the entire module, but why not, like other content management systems, why not have a default rule in core, and then allow people to change the format of the clean URLs through the contributed Path Auto module. So maybe we need to do some more work on clean URLs in core. Also interesting, I think, is WYSIWYG editors, because there's 3 of them in the top 20, and there is even more of them, further down the list. So, but if we and there's also modules like image assistant things, which are, sort of in the same family of modules. If you add all of them, well, first of all, it shows that FCK editor seems to be winning the WYSIWYG war, if there is such a thing. And also it means that 37% of all users actually install a WYSIWYG editor, which makes it even more popular than views and CCK, I guess. So definitely interesting to see. And again, I think we should integrate this data in the project module and have it, available to everybody at all time. And then here is the actually just the top 40, just for completeness. As you can see, many more CCK-related modules. I'll let you look at it for a couple seconds. All right. Another interesting thing we can look at is how many modules do people install on an average Drupal site. And if you look at it, you get something like this. So 23% of the people, they don't even install any additional modules. So I guess it also means they don't even install a custom theme. So they're probably all launching with Garland, I assume. So that might help the how many sites will be, ugly parts. I mean, not to say that Garland is ugly, but it's definitely, it doesn't provide you a unique brand compared to other sites. 10% of the people have one module installed. That might be a team, actually. 8% have 2 modules installed, and so forth. So another way to look at it is basically to accumulate all the data. Then you get something like this, which, if you look at it, it's like 60% or so of all the Drupal 6 installations have 5 or less modules installed. So most people actually have only very few modules, I would say, and then 40% have more than 5 modules installed. And you can see it's sort of this nice graph. I think there was one site which had like 138 modules installed. I wonder if that, the site is pinging home, so I assume it's sort of working. And these are modules which are activated, like enabled, not just on the physical, on the disk. So interestingly enough, right, something else which I asked in the survey, not the ping home feature, is which is your Drupal 7 wishlist? And I made 2 segments, again, novice users and expert users, because I think it's useful to look at them both. So there you have it. Usability improvement, media handling continues to be very high on the list. People also on CCK views in core. WYSIWYG editor people want. It's also clear based on the actual ping home data. Easier upgrade functionality, which I think hopefully we all want now. Performance improvements, better document management, and so forth. And so let's talk about these a little bit more and see how far we are with each of those, relative to Drupal 7 development. So what I did is I merged these 2 top 10s, and we essentially have 13 items then. So first of all, usability improvements. We did quite a bit of work in terms of usability improvements. We added more drag and drop goodness to some of the forms and pages. We added descriptions for user permissions. We removed a bunch of confusing configuration options, like command controls, and we made those available through views, for example. So people still can do so, but it's not there anymore by default. We added a basic install profile, which sets up some dummy data, which is, I think, very, very helpful, and I hope we can continue to expand that install profile. We refactored the access rules. We removed 2 modules. We moved them to contrib and so forth. However, I think all of these are good, but they're not quite good enough. All of them feel like they're very good, but they're minor issues. There's some bigger issues we need to solve here. And one of the things which I found very useful, are the usability studies that were conducted at the University of Minnesota, but also at the University of Baltimore. And I've included a small snippet of that video. I'm not sure how many people actually saw it, but what they did is they put experienced people with content management systems, but not Drupal. So they had experience building websites in front of a screen capturing tool, and they asked them to complete certain tasks, and they basically recorded what they were doing and what they were struggling with. So let's have a quick look at what some of these people said, and I hope
I'm looking for edit tools, which there don't seem to be any. I'm going to just click on publishing options and see if that gives me any formatting. No. Not even sure what
So the blue blot is eye tracking software. It shows you where people are looking.
Bullet lists, and control it visually somehow, but I didn't see any of that. This is weird.
Okay. I don't really understand the difference too much between page and story.
The one thing that did to the use of story versus page is very strange.
I didn't expect to have a choice. I would have presumed that everything I would be adding, that the first thing I would add would be a page. And that if there were any other kind of components, like reusable components, like events, that it would be located somewhere else. I don't know where, but you know, I didn't expect to have a choice. But it was obvious, or at least I think it was obvious. I think I understand the difference between a page and a story.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one as well, the parent item, which is really confusing a lot of people. We see that consistently across these tests.
Primary links. I don't know what all these things are. But I don't know if this is changing the administrative portion of the site or what appears to the outside world.
Parent item, primary links, secondary links, log out, help. Maximum link. No idea what parent items are.
So, you know, the full video, and it's a lot longer than this here, is up on the URL below, and you can find it on Diderot as well. Right, and there's also a lot of terminology issues and language issues, which I found a great example of. And you know, it shows that for some people, Drupal is like, you know, Chinese.
Marakeri, Kenli. И сега Катерино. Kenli.
Kenli. Да не става въпрос за without you.
Не.
Давайте.
No one can get to save me. No young clist jo malive. Where I get jo zabatenan lechumo. You want us tonight, molinai. Yo sora show. Yes, it's so. Can't live to live without you. Can't live. I can't live anymore. Can't live to live without you.
Това на какъв език беше?
На английски.
So, definitely a lot of people are failing on the Drupal terminology, and you know, that's an example of people failing over terminology. So, something to work on as well. One, you know, really cool tool which I started using a lot recently is Sketch, and if you're a Mac user, I highly recommend you download Sketch. It's free, and what it allows you to do is really take snapshots of screens and to annotate them, like, you know, within seconds. And here's an example of an annotation I made with a usability suggestion, and I just, you know, took me, I don't know, 30 seconds, created an issue, and filed it like that. And you know, specifically what this here does is, you know, if you use Gmail, for example, when you want to upload a file, you basically click Browse, and then it starts uploading. In Drupal, you have to click Browse, and then it shows up in the little text field, and then you have to click, Attach. And small changes like this can really make a big difference. So if we all make it a good habit to start, making these annotated screenshots and uploading them to the issue queue, I think it's going to improve how we work on usability issues, and it's going to increase the rate of us being able to fix those. Something else I bought is iShowU. It's a little video capturing application, and just like Sketch, you have to pay for it, but it's not that expensive. Just like Sketch, you can very easily record videos with it. And here's just an example. Oh, I'll skip over it, but I'll start uploading these little videos as well. All right, so back to the list of 12 things to do. We talked about usability improvements. We have great data from the universities. We basically have to translate these to solutions and start implementing them. So I think mostly we are on track there. At least we're making progress. We can definitely do more. Media handling, that's an interesting one. There is part of the solution for media handling is to, and there is a patch for this, is to start treating files as first-class citizens in Drupal. And I should really go back to that issue and review it and help it, get into core. So that's one thing we. And I'll do that as soon as I can. And I think you should all help with that. And the other things are CCK and views in core. There is been some great work. Barry Jaspin did some work on getting fields in core, and he's working with the current CCK maintainers to move that along. And I think it's not quite ready yet, but it's getting into a state where it might be able to go into core. Views in core is a little bit more difficult because there is a lot of stuff there. So what I think we should try to do is move, or at least add things to core on a short-term basis, which makes the view module significantly smaller. And we did some of that by putting in the database abstraction layer, because a lot of the view stuff might be able to reuse the query builder of views. It wouldn't, it doesn't make the views modules, shrink in half or something, but at least it makes it easier for views. And so I think that's a good thing to help move along views. WYSIWYG editor in core, I'm not quite ready to add a WYSIWYG editor to core yet, but we are working on some generic improvements on input formats to basically associate an input format with the text area. Right now in Drupal 5, the input format is basically part of the form, but there is no semantic relation between the format and the actual text area it applies to. So one of the things we're doing is connecting the input format with the actual text area, which is going to make it a lot easier for people to integrate WYSIWYG editors and to declare which text area should have a WYSIWYG editor and which ones shouldn't have one. So definitely making improvements in getting better WYSIWYG support in general. Not quite ready to add one specific solution to core. Easier upgrades functionality, we talked about that a little bit more. We should figure out why update notifications aren't all that successful. Ultimately, maybe consider adding an automatic, a process for people to make it easier to automatically upgrade modules somehow. Performance improvements, there's always work being done on that on various levels. For example, search is often a performance bottleneck. In the search sprint in Minneapolis, I believe it was recently, work was being done to make it easier for people to integrate Drupal and, for example, Apache Solr, which is an external search application, so to speak, and which has much better performance than the built-in Drupal search. So things like that are definitely helping with performance. The new database abstraction layer, which went in, also makes it easier to do database replication for load balancing purpose. So master and master-slave configurations will become easier, which definitely a big plus for the performance people. And also because of some of the functions which are part of the database abstraction layer, like for example DB merge, it actually allows us to use MySQL isms like on duplicate, so we can write certain queries shorter and have MySQL be smarter about them, which is great too. Document management, I guess it's related to getting CCK in core and also better media handling. I think it all ties together, so if we make a concentrated effort there, that would be great. Better search, already talked about the search sprint. Result of the search sprint was not only performance improvements, but also I believe it was part of the search sprint is like language aware searches are now possible, so you're able to search all the content in a specific language and things like that. So improvements are being made there. Better import and export functionality, and I think this is a great opening to, for all of the people who haven't seen this video yet, which I showed in Boston last time. I think import export is, I think if we do RDF-like things, we basically get import and export for free, or mostly for free. And so I want to show you this video again because I think it's important.
This is the web as it was a few years ago.
And I'll let
these pages are a lot easier to use these days, but making them work together is still difficult and time-consuming.
Can you hear it all right?
RDF can change all that. As more and more applications become RDF aware, RDF can solve interoperability problems for your data and for everybody else's data too. It does this by making that data accessible to machines in a way that they can not just parse, but actually understand. This screencast is all about showing what happened and how to make it happen without writing any code at all. When we work with RDF and Drupal, we've got a lot of options for how our data can be formatted and where it can come from. We'll start with a Sparkle query. Here's what one looks like. It's kind of like SQL, but instead of asking for structured data from a database schema, it queries an RDF data graph for facts. It can even do this across multiple data graphs at the same time, which means that creating complex queries across disconnected data sources can be very simple. Facts are always stored as triples, so systems can always see the relationships, even when they've never seen these particular data structures before. Take a closer look at our query. It's pulling in schemas and data from multiple unaffiliated sources in the same query. Also note that we don't have to know how this data is structured. We only have to know what vocabulary a particular Sparkle endpoint is using to get any information that it contains. There are already plenty of standards for RDF vocabularies for describing particular knowledge domains or relationships, so this isn't usually a problem. After a Sparkle query is written, it's saved as a node. It acts a bit like a saved search. Here's the output of our query, which is pulling in some information about countries of the world from Wikipedia. To mash our data up with something, we'll need another data source to mash it up with. We've got a lot of options for this. There's plenty of RDF feed types that can be turned into viewable data, for example, and many other kinds of data, such as Google spreadsheets, also export data as XML or JSON, which is an information description scheme in JavaScript. All of these can be imported into Drupal RDF applications. For our first mashup, let's see what's going on in Boston during DrupalCon. For that, we've pulled in an RSS feed of events from a local website and converted it into JSON. We've also got some friends in Boston we'd like to catch up with, and we keep track of them in a private spreadsheet on Google Docs. To make our mashup, we'll create an exhibit node. These nodes pull data into Exhibit, a free RDF visualizer from MIT's Simile project. Note that if we have private data from a Google spreadsheet or a custom JSON source, we can mix that data in with public data, all into one mashup. Exhibit will show us plenty of interesting data without any configuration at all, but asking it to display a few relationships will show the power of the system. These two lines, for example, provide a text-based search and a browse by date function. Here's our mashup. On the front page, Exhibit will show us all of the contacts we had in our contact list, but the map is where it starts to get really interesting. Here, our two heterogeneous data sets, events and contacts, are displayed on the same map at the same time, and we didn't have to do any sort of data normalization. We can easily see where the local events are, and we can see where our friends are in relation to them. These Royal Scot Guards look interesting, and our friend Amelia is right here nearby. Maybe she'd like to come too. Of course, if we only wanted to see what's happening tomorrow, we could do that with a click too. It's pretty simple. It seems there's a lot of music to pick from in Boston, depending on our mood. Here's another mashup, this time mixing 3 data sources. Our original Sparkle query with country code and time code information, some information about DrupalCon Boston attendees, and some information about Drupal.org module maintainers. This mashup can tell us a lot about DrupalCon attendees. We see a list of companies that people work for, and we can see who they've sent to the conference. We can also see what countries the attendees come from. But Exhibit does another neat thing. It doesn't really care what we're mashing up here. To Exhibit, this is just as much a mashup about modules as it is about people. That means Exhibit can show us some interesting things. For example, here's a list of modules created by Germans that are attending DrupalCon. A quick look at this map can show us some other neat information. Our Sparkle query to the semantic version of Wikipedia has returned some attendees' home country information, such as capitals, geocoding information, and time zones. With Boston being at UTC-5, it's easy to find the most jet-lagged people at this conference. That'd be these guys over here. Remember, this information is stored semantically, so the system understood these facts before we showed them to you on a map. The more data sources we have, the more complicated and interesting the results of our queries can be. And there's no shortage of publicly accessible data on the web, and there's more being added every single day.
All right, so it was a little video, and I think, in order to get there, there's 2 things we need to do, and I talked about these in Boston. It's like we have to give more power to fields rather than content types, and the fields in core patch, it helps with that exactly. And the other thing we need to do is we need to be able to export the content in a Drupal site into multiple output formats. Right now, we always generate, XHTML, but we also need to go, for JSON, XML, and all of these other output formats. And, there's also a patch in the works to help make that possible. So it seems like we're getting, we're making progress towards this vision. And in general, I think it's, it's important. The goal is not to get there with Drupal 7, but to keep this vision in mind, because Drupal is very much built like say Unix. It's written by people from all over the world, and all of these people, they bring a little piece to the table, and all using a common framework, Drupal. And so the more modules we get and the more pieces people bring to the table, the better a platform Drupal becomes, and the more powerful websites people will be able to build with Drupal. And the more possibilities it creates. So thinking of Drupal as a common platform and having a vision, a long-term vision of what that platform could look like, I think is really important. At least I know it helps me think about short-term decisions. And so as the internet is becoming more important, hopefully Drupal will also become more important. And by keeping an eye on the semantic web, I think we have an opportunity to be part of the history of the web, and to hopefully be a footnote in the books of the internet. So let's keep that in mind. So better import and export functionality. I think it's mostly, clearly, that was some powerful import and export. Test framework and a lot of tests. A lot of work has been done on writing tests, and we added a lot of new tests, and we also worked very, very hard to, basically get all the tests to pass. And, I guess on August 16, we managed to get to that state. So thanks for all the people who helped writing tests. Unfortunately, another commit broke it, but we fixed that fairly quickly. So improving the node access system is the last and 12th item on the list. Again, it's something the database abstraction layer can help with, because we now have a hook alter for queries. And because we better keep track of how we compose a query basically, or decompose a query, it's easier to manipulate it, and we don't necessarily have to revert to crazy regular expressions to dynamically modify queries on the fly. So hopefully we'll be able to clean that up significantly based on the database abstraction layer patch. So clearly we are, I think, on track on all of these 12 items. There is some action, there is some patches making improvements, but we have a lot of work to do. It's the lipstick on a pig won't cut it, right? So we need to basically get better at what we are already doing. One way to get there is maybe to maybe add another branch maintainer, right? I've been maintaining Drupal 7 for 6 months now, and I think the time has come to add somebody to the mix, and so I spend a lot of time looking for the right person, and who cares about usability? That's definitely, it's very high on the list, and who cares about testing? Because we want to get better at testing, and who knows CCK and views really well, because people clearly want more of CCK and views into core, and who can really set up people for success, who can really help people accelerate within the Drupal community and in their contributions, and so I decided to So I decided to make Webchick the Drupal 7 co-maintainer, and she's still busy right now with finishing the O'Reilly book and stuff, but she'll start. So expect more from Webchick. Also, I'm not sure if it's easy to read. I don't think it is, but we'll freeze Drupal 7 when it's ready to be frozen. Not clear yet when that will be, but I don't expect it to happen before January 2009, so I think it's at least another 4 months, if not more, of development. So, and we'll re-evaluate as we get closer to January 2009. But I think it's important to, as modules are getting updated and people are migrating towards Drupal 6, it wouldn't be the right thing to to freeze Drupal 6 at this point at all. So more time for development. All in all, I think, like I said previously, it's very hard to recreate momentum after you lost it. And I'm not saying we lost momentum, not at all, but I do think we have to maintain the momentum and even accelerate. And to do so, I think we need to, essentially, we must get better at everything we do. We must improve Diderot. We must improve the websites. We have to help more people become Drupal professionals and make the step to working on Drupal full-time. We have to make Drupal easier to use, and we have to provide more features to people because they're all asking for it. And it's not going to be easy to scale up and to make that happen. But hopefully we can, because ideally, during my presentation next year, I'll be able to, give this slide, and hopefully Drupal Diderot will serve 40,000 pages, and hopefully Drupal will be downloaded 400 times instead of 200 times, and hopefully 50 new Drupal sites will launch, and hopefully we have a 1% conversion rate instead of a 0.5% conversion rate, and hopefully, at least the majority of the people will have upgraded to the latest version of Drupal instead of less than 40%. So I hope we can all get to work on that, and I thank you for your time. I'm not sure we have time for questions. I think we're running pretty late, so I'm happy to answer questions in the hallways. I'm here all week, obviously, so we should have plenty of time to talk. Thank you.
So, thank you, Dries. We are running a little bit late because of the late registrations. So the next sessions might be a few minutes late, but we would like to get back on track on the scheduled time. And Dries was saying we should keep improving. So what I've done while Dries was speaking is that I've posted the opening keynote PDF on the website. And I've also posted a PDF version of the latest schedule. So if there's any problems with the online schedule, just use the PDF from the whiteboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Very cool. I love it too. You're from Sun? Yes. My school, yeah. Yep.